Welcome to On the Chain. This is Chip. Jeff, co-host, is not here tonight. He's on special assignment. He actually he's traveling, so he will not be here. So we got some great things to talk about tonight. First up, we're going to get into a little bit of the SEC's Fair Notice farce, starring none other than man of the hour, the month, William Hinman. Also, some new developments in the SEC v. Ripple case that we're going to jump into. Stablecoins, XRP, giant whale transaction. Let's get this puppy started. Let's go.
Welcome to On the Chain.
So we got a lot to cover tonight. I always hope that we can get to it because we always have more material than we can get to, which is good, right? Sometimes you have way more than you plan. And sometimes, once in a great while, you're like, what do I talk about? But with Jeff and I, we can just freestyle it. So don't worry, it's there. I want to welcome everybody. Where you're coming in from this in the part of the world. Drop your city, drop your country. I love to see where people are coming in from. Before we go any further, I just wanted to do a giant shout out to our sponsor. That is none other than Permission. Permission.io. And what's great about Permission is it gives you the opportunity to basically earn the ask token, get it, ask permission, allows you to basically monetize your own data. So you can opt in, you can decide how much data you want to share. It's no different than what all of these other organizations are doing on your behalf. I'm not going to mention them, but you know who they are. And this way here, you're one in control. And what will happen is Permission will show you an ad, they'll show you a video, and for watching it or clicking on it, you will earn the ask token. Takes like about a minute and a half to set up. You basically go ahead and you create an account, you install the browser plugin, your wallet is in the browser plugin, and you start accruing the ask token. Again, big shout out to permission.io. The link is down below, but it can't get any simpler. Permission.io. Thank you. Bye-bye. And here we go. So I want to jump into a couple of things tonight because we have so much stuff that's going on. And there was one of my favorite writers, and that's Rosalind Layton. She's just a phenomenal writer. She really nails it. Kind of want to jump through that. Want to get into some recent developments in the case that are going on tonight. And then we're going to dive into some other stories. But as I always like to say, let's dive headfirst into the shallow end for some maximum impact. Going to go ahead and take a look at this very first story here. And we're going to kind of dissect it. We're going to look at it because I think it's an incredibly well-written piece. And let me go ahead and add this up here. So let's take a look at this. This is Rosalind Layton. This was in Forbes. It dropped today. SEC's Fair Notice farce. I love this. She calls it what it is. It's a farce, right? And if you notice, this was the thumbnail today. And this is kind of how I just feel where we're headed, right? Got the SEC clown show. It's really turning into somewhat of a clown show. You know, we got Clayton, we got Hinman, we got Hester Pierce, and we have none other who's driving the bus. That's right, our pal Gary Gensler, right? And he's an expert, may I remind you, in cryptocurrencies because he taught a course at MIT, I believe it was. So anyway, that was the thumbnail today. This is the SEC sort of clown show. And I have to say that the SEC, I put this out. This was Jimmy Phelan put this out, talked about individual defendants file letter, and then Pierce and Roisman statement as supporting motions to dismiss amid significant regulatory uncertainty regarding when digital assets may be classified as securities by the SEC. Now, if you guys remember last night, whether you're here or not, yesterday we took a look at this. We kind of did a deep dive, Jeff and I went in there and kind of dissected it. And so I kind of just retweeted this and basically said, the SEC really, they just keep stepping in it. They just can't help themselves, right? According to the SEC, Garlinghouse and Larson were supposed to know that they sold unregistered securities back in 2013 and 2015, right? Mental telepathy. They were supposed to know. The universe was supposed to tell them, right? Yet there's two SEC commissioners, that's Roisman and Pierce, who put out a statement on July 14th. They don't know in July of 2021 whether or not digital assets are securities because, as they said, it's not clear, lack of clarity, right? It's not crystal clear, I believe, are the exact words that they used. And so, when we drill down on this whole thing, I kind of have to laugh a little bit because, when this case first started, everybody was hyped up and they were nervous and, oh my God, they're trying to take down Ripple. But there's been a lot of twists and turns. If we're watching the movie, this was the part of the movie right about now where it starts to get really exciting, right? The protagonist starts figuring stuff out. Yes, you went after my whole family. Yes, you may have had an impact, but guess what? I'm coming after you. I got guns a-blazing, figuratively, of course, not in reality. And I'm going to go ahead and settle the score. And in every good movie, at some point, all hope is lost for the protagonist, right? It looks dismal. It doesn't look like it's going to go. And then, you ever watch the antagonist? They always make mistakes, silly mistakes too, like leaving their key in the car and locking themselves out of it, something ridiculous. And that's what's happening here with the SEC. They just continue to keep stepping in this thing left and right. So then let's jump back into it. Let's go into this story right here. This is the SEC's fair notice, Farce. Now, this is an appropriate word. And she also says starring William Hinman. So, Rosalind, what a great article. She says, covering the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission's ill-conceived enforcement action. So right off the bat, ill-conceived, right? What is she saying right out of the bat, right out of the gate? It wasn't even well conceived. And you can see what's happening is that the SEC is making a lot of mistakes, right? Remember they were trying to quash the whole fair notice. Well, fair notice is in full effect here. If you have two commissioners this month that don't know there's any clarity, but yet you're supposed to know Garling House and all of a sudden Larson and Ripple and everybody else is supposed to know, right? So she says it was an ill-conceived enforcement action against Ripple Labs. It's never dull. And last week offered another development in the case when the agency accused the San Francisco-based software company of 7 years of unregistered security trades by its distribution of the XRP currency. Love how she calls it currency there. It unwittingly opened the door to replacing the SEC's antiquated Howey test for defining securities. Now, if you recall, there was a Rosalind Layton article very early on where she was the one, I believe, and I could be wrong, but I do believe that she was the one that started coining it the Ripple test. We need a Ripple test, right? And guess what? I think we're going to get a Ripple test. I think it's going to completely destroy and replace the Howey test. But if she wasn't the first one that coined it, she certainly was one that drove it home. And then she gets into she says, moreover, it appears that the judge agrees with the defense's argument that the SEC failed to provide fair notice to Ripple or any market participant that XRP was, in the agency's view, a security since 2013. Throughout the pretrial phase of the case, Ripple's legal team has demonstrated that the SEC denied fair notice, not just on XRP, but cryptocurrencies in general. When Ripple filed an intention to present a fair notice defense, the SEC launched a series of desperate filings to stop Ripple, knowing that if the defense is permitted, the trial case against Ripple will be DOA, what we call dead on arrival. And she so eloquently nails this. They were trying, they know they don't have a leg to stand on here. I mean, what are they going to do? I'm sorry, Judge. Yeah, I guess we didn't know ourselves. Oops. What are they going to say? They didn't know. Of course they didn't know. Nobody knows. That's the whole point of this thing. Nobody knows. It's like, and a lot of people have made the judgment saying that, well, if they go ahead and settle, they're going to get clarity. Well, maybe, but what's the clarity look like? You can't necessarily look at the Kick case, right? Or the Telegram case, because those were ICOs, initial coin offerings, pretty much cut and dry. What happened there? Well, they basically they sold an unregistered security. They didn't pre-register with the SEC. That was pretty much it. So did they get a free pass? No. I mean, could the SEC come after them again? Well, depending on what happened in this case, they certainly could. And then they went after Library, LRBY, which all of our videos go up there. It's a decentralized video platform, and everything we do also goes over there, which is why we really like it. And we had their CEO on here. Now they're going after them as well. So if you're the Library attorneys, you know what? You're taking a very close look at what's happening in this Ripple case. You know what you're thinking to yourself? fair notice, right? So that fair notice defense is pivotal because what are they? They're not going to have any action or judgment against any other company because they will use the same defense. So they're looking at this really keenly to find out exactly how this is going to go. Now let's dive in. Yeah, right here you go. Right here. This is good. And P Wang says, "Why would you settle when we're going to win?" Absolutely spot on. I believe that 100%. And Jeff and I were big advocates from the start. We were one of the few that's out there saying, "Hey, man, take this to the mat, gloves off, fisticuffs up. Let's go. Let's battle this out." Ripple goes out and hires some of the best attorneys known on planet Earth. I haven't checked other planets, but I'm sure there are really good, well-trained attorneys and counsel on other planets, but just on planet Earth, they get amazing, right? And they start dissecting that. And you saw early on when Tenero, that's the attorney for the SEC, was fumbling around and trying to, on these hearing calls was just looking for the right thing to come up and say, because I don't think that a lot of people, especially attorneys, we go back to 2013 and say, what do they know in 2013? Well, what do they know in 2021? It seems like not a lot of attorneys are that versed like you are because you've done your homework, you're looking around the internet, you kind of know about XRP, but you now know about a lot of other digital assets, right? You know that they can function as a currency, they can also function as a use case, and it could be a security in some instances. And those three prongs, exactly how the UK looks at it, which is, I really favor that sort of three-tiered approach where you can be one, two, or tick all three of those boxes. So he says, yeah, that's so yeah, Van Life Biker says, yeah, that's what I've been saying all along. And I think we're starting to get a lot of unity in here. And right there, all the money, move all the money, right? Got to move it all. And so she goes on to say that, where were we here? Holy cow, where were we? So yeah, the key to strategy is the deposition of former SEC Director of Corporate Finance, William Hinman, which Magistrate Judge Sarah Netburn has now ordered, overruling the SEC. This is crucial because Hinman gave his now infamous speech in June of 2018, which still appears on the SEC website. You can still go there. It's not like they scrubbed the website of this. It's still up there, declaring that Ethereum's digital token, Ether, not a security, despite having been launched in an initial coin offering, ICO, in 2014. Now, I just really love the fact that you got someone like Rosalind Layton who has done her homework, and she initially called. Now, it wasn't your traditional ICO, right? You could get a traditional ICO as they release all the coin at a certain price. People are buying it, whatever. This happened over a period of a year. So the early investors, they got in. They pre-bought the coin. The coin was released, I think it was almost a year later, July of 2014, July of 2015. So not quite an ICO, but I love the fact that she's calling it an ICO because she's totally nailing them against the wall saying, hey, wait a minute. You're saying that ETH is not a security, right? And even in that speech, Hinman alluded to the fact that, well, he goes, it's my personal opinion. And then he goes on to say, we don't believe today's ETH is. Well, why didn't they do that when this case was dropped? Why didn't they say, we're a little bit discouraged by the fact that we believe that Ripple, Garlinghouse, Larson, they sold unregistered securities. But hey, rest assured, today's XRP, not a security. They could have done that. No. That only works when Bill Hinman's given a speech at Yahoo and it's only his personal opinion, right? So that's a little bit of a different story. So then we go into here. The SEC disclaimed the speech saying, well, it only reflected Hinman's personal views, wasn't market guidance. So Ripple has assiduously fought for evidence surrounding the preparation of the speech and Hinman's communication with market participants, especially those with financial interest in Ethereum. Under oath, Hinman could confess he realized his speech was interpreted as market guidance, including by the Ethereum Foundation and other interested parties he met with soon after the speech. Now, that's interesting because I thought that he also had met prior to. So I don't know, timing-wise, I'm hearing a couple different things. Did he actually talk to the Ethereum Foundation before? Maybe he got schooled a little bit, or did that come a little bit after? Then we have he met with, this would expose the arbitrary and capricious nature of how the SEC provides fair notice on cryptocurrencies and validate Ripple's fair notice defense. I got to tell you, right now, the SEC is in big trouble. Big trouble. This whole thing is collapsing right underneath their feet. And you know what it's starting to look more and more like? That's right. Starting to look just like that. Yeah, it's turning into a clown show, a little SEC road show, clown show. Gary Gensler driving. It's got a whole bunch of people in there, and of course, this is just parody. I don't believe that, Hester Pierce, she's one of the few that has fought for cryptocurrencies, but we're just having a little bit of a laugh there. Let's not get too carried away with that, but it's a fun graphic. And let's jump back in here. So when the suit was filed in December, exchanges suspended XRP trading, leading to a panic selling that erased $15 billion worth of savings and asset holdings. Now, of course, you could always argue that a lot of this were the big players, right? There are a lot of, but you know what? You know who most of the investors were? You. That's right. You were most of the investors. Yeah, the little guy, right? The little guy trying to, squirrel trying to grab a nut here and there, see what they can do. 15 billion gone, erased forever. Well, not forever, but it's part of the fun story here. Now, it says here, believing that they then to be denied fair notice of the SEC's intention, retail holders focused their feelings of betrayal with the remarkable intensity to the court and on social media. And what she's referring to right there is us. The XRP army, full effect, right? SEC had even changed their handle. Did that help? No. Did it stop anybody? Did it stop the XRP army? You can't stop the XRP army. You just can't do it, man. It's like a full force. But they tried. They changed it to SEC, at SEC Gov, and it was at SEC_news. A lot of people thought, initially, oh my gosh, we just ran them off Twitter. No, that's not what happened. I mean, it's more in line with what the SEC is, SEC.gov. That's the obviously the website, but they did change it and they got hammered. Now, anytime they put a post out, now it doesn't matter what they're talking about. It could be anything, regulation, ruling, something's happening that's interesting. The XRP army is in full effect on every one of those posts. And that's really what Rosalind's, that's what she's really getting at here. Believing that it denied fair notice of the SEC's intentions, retail holders, which is us, we did focus our feelings of betrayal, right? And the interest led the Southern District of New York to open thousands of public phone lines to listen to pretrial hearings. Attorney John Deaton filed a motion to intervene on behalf of XRP holders, and he signed up to 19,000 XRP holders by the latest report. And this is incredible because I don't think when they did this, now if you remember the early pretrial hearings, the very first one, we waited like 3 months for it. Remember, they dropped the lawsuit in December. We waited till I think it was sometime in March, early March, and almost nobody could get on. There was just too much interest. So they blew up the phone lines. And let's face it, there's not a lot of interest in a lot of SEC other cases. A lot of them are criminal cases, whatever. This one, they extended it to 4,000. You know what happened on the last hearing? People couldn't get in. You want to know why? Because there's a lot of interest in this case. And the judge, not only this last hearing called, but the second one, third one, I think the one subsequent after, she said this is a high profile case. There's so much interest. Translation, XRP army is interested. Translation, the retail investor who you're supposed to be protecting SEC. Now, she didn't say that. Of course, I'm sort of reading into it, but it's enough to get it going. Jump back in here. So last Thursday, Judge Netmern ordered Hinman to sit for the deposition and drill down on Hinman's 2018 speech. This is not a run-of-the-mill SEC enforcement case, she said, but a case that involves significant policy decisions in our market. The amount of controversy is substantial, and the public's interest in this case is significant. And that's what I was talking about. One of the things I like about Judge Netmern, both of the judges in here, they're super smart, and they kind of smell a scam when they see it, right? They're like, wait, hold up, that doesn't smell right, right? Doesn't pass the sniff test, so to speak. So she can kind of like sniff things out, and just citing the fact that it's such an important case, high profile. And the fact right here, I want to highlight this, it involves significant policy decisions in our market. So even Judge Netmern understands what this case means. It's monumental. You got to look, you got to go back to the Howey test in 1946, or you got to go back to the 1933, 34 security exchange laws that were passed, right? This is like the case of the century, because the policy decisions that come out of this are important, and she's not letting anybody escape. The judge's tone and statement suggest that she and possibly Judge Annalisa Torres, who will preside over the trial, are heading towards admitting the fair notice defense, effectively putting the SEC on trial and what could be a precedent-setting verdict, right? So this is interesting. Started out real strong, you know, the SEC, the aggressor coming after, you know, not only Ripple, but I think they made an egregious mistake by also coming after. Now, why did they have to come after Garlinghouse and Larson, right? I don't know. Maybe they thought it was personal. Maybe this was personal. And that's what every good movie needs, right? You always see like the protagonist is like, this time it's personal, as they're cleaning their gun. You know, this time is for keeps. This time is for all the marbles, right? And that's kind of what we're seeing, how this is playing out. It's remarkable. And the movie's starting to get better. If this were a movie, it's starting to get fun. So, and Judge Annalisa Torres is another one that, not going to pull one over on her. Another portent of doom for the SEC's legal team is a recent missive on a settlement with crypto exchanges coin schedule from SEC commissioners Pierce and Roisman, two Republicans who likely voted against the Ripple case, driven by former Republican publication SEC chair Jay Clayton. Commissioners were essentially whistleblowers from the inside the agency's top leadership, attesting that the SEC fails to provide clear guidance and fair notice of assets. Now, that's funny that I had said something very similar last night when I said the fact is this self-sabotage? Putting out that statement, there's no clarity, right? Sort of, and this is where you kind of see there's got to be a lot of infighting down at the agency, right? I don't think, you know, I think there's probably still working virtual, but this is like one of those uncomfortable things. If you walk into like, you know, where everybody assembles and gets coffee, people kind of look down, they do this, you know, nobody's like really greeting each other, because there has to be a lot of this dissension from within the SEC. It's a mess. It's a complete nightmare mess. And you got the commissioners, you know, so it's funny that Rosalind Clayton's saying something very similar when she's saying that she's correctly naming the fact that Pierce, Roisman, also Republicans, but yeah, Jay Clayton, who went ahead and dropped this lawsuit, but they come out with a public statement, which basically, and I don't want to use the word guarantee, but essentially it really helps advance the fair notice defense, right? Because they're coming after Ripple saying, you should have known magically through some, I don't know, magic potion or whatever. And then you got two commissioners jumping up saying, well, here's how it works. We don't know. Nobody knows. There's no clear judgment. Nobody knows anything about it. There's a lack of clarity. It's not crystal clear. So that's going to blow it wide open. So I love the way she positions this right now. And another interesting sort of drill down the way she's looking at that. So Pierce and Roisman wrote that they were disappointed the settlement did not explain which digital assets touted by CoinSchedule were securities, an omission which is symptomatic of our reluctance to provide additional guidance about how to determine whether tokens being sold as part of the securities offering or which tokens are securities, right? So this is so funny. Of course they're disappointed. Everyone's disappointed, but should the commissioners be disappointed? In fair defense, if you want to play devil's advocate here, they are the enforcement arm, right? They enforce securities. Guess what? Digital assets aren't securities. And the other part of it is on the digital asset realm, what are they supposed to enforce? Based on what? Congress didn't give them anything. Congress didn't give them any clarity. The token taxonomy, not passed. You know, Tom Emmer and Darren Soto came out with a new bill. It's blowing up in the crypto world. I don't know if it's getting any traction anywhere else. Who knows? I don't know what's happening per se, but she's correctly calling this right here is that didn't give any guidance to whether tokens are secure, which tokens were securities. Why? This leads us back exactly to what's going to happen when people say, just settle it already. Well, we just had a case where the two commissioners are disappointed because there's no clarity about which tokens were securities or not. So how is it going to be any different with Ripple? Now, we all know that XRP, today's XRP anyway, it's decentralized. You know, even if you look at the escrow that's locked up. The only way you could potentially do something about that is it would have to be an amendment out to the validator nodes, and the validators would have 80% consensus. They'd have to get to 80% consensus to go ahead and pass it. If they wanted to burn it or take it over, to see everyone that says, well, the SEC is interested in that, and they want at escrow. Well, what's the mechanism? There is no mechanism for that, right? It's decentralized. People forget, you got to make that leap of faith that it's decentralized. Ripple can't do anything with it, right? Outside of what they have to go ahead and submit an amendment. So people just think like, it's like regular times. This isn't a bunch of money sitting in a bank and go, well, we want to seize your bank account. Doesn't work that way. But with the government, would I put it past them? Almost anything is possible. Is it likely? I don't see that happening. Now, she says there's a decided lack of clarity for market participants around the application of the securities laws, the digital assets, and their trading. It's evidenced by the requests that each of us receives for clarity and the consistent outreach to the commission staff for no action and other relief they wrote. The Howey test, they said, is helpful, but not crystal clear. Oh, great. Okay, so don't worry. Ripple should have known. Market participants have difficulty getting a lawyer to sign off on something that's not a securities offering or does not implicate the securities laws. They also cannot get a clear answer backed by a clear commission level statement that something is a securities offering, the commissioners complained. Although she's used the words complain, laying down the clear rules for the market and then bringing enforcement actions against people who ignore them is a better approach than the clue by enforcement approach that we've embraced to date, they argued. In short, we know how folks have questions and confusion persists in the marketplace, and it's important that we start providing clear and timely answers. Well, quite honestly, how are they going to do that? They don't even know really. There's any legislation that's passed that allows them to enforce. So they're enforcing blindly right here, and they don't know themselves. So this is not going well for them. Commissioner's statement probably does not surprise the SEC's legal team. They likely know that Hinman's answers to Ripple's questions could sink their case and their credibility as an agency. It invites a ruling that could bring the SEC's farce of fair notice to an end. So there's a lot more at stake, right? This started out as the SEC v. Ripple. Oh, who's going to win? What it's turning into is putting the SEC on trial. The SEC is going to be in the hot seat. And what's it going to do? Massive collateral damage to the agency. And, is it fair to someone like Hester Pierce, who has done her best? I mean, she got the name Crypto Mom. Wasn't because she wasn't involved or really didn't want crypto to succeed. She doesn't have a mechanism either. She can say, I want to do a safe harbor 3 years and for a startup to come out and give it a chance to decentralize a particular asset within 3 years. That's great. Just a suggestion. You also could suggest something and it would be just as good because there is no clarity and there's no legislation. The legislation in the United States is passed through the legislature, which is the House of Representatives and the Senate, and gets signed by the president. Okay, so it has to go through the House, comes out of committee into the House, or sometimes it'll start in the Senate and it's got to go to the House for passage. It can pass in out of the Senate and it's got to go there. So pretty simple. It needs to go through both of those, and then it gets signed by the president. Now the president could also veto it, depending on how many number of votes. It gets a little complicated, but that's what's at stake here. So this article that she put together, just really fantastic, phenomenal. I want to jump over to the chat here. I want to see what's going on, see what everybody's saying. Yeah, a lot of people just saying hello, XRP2 LLC. There we go, right there. Beef Your Tea says XRP2 LLC is in charge of the escrow. There you go. So the thing about it is, could be a case of bait and switch, a setup by Ripple. Wow, that's interesting too. I think the best part of this whole thing was there were a lot of clues given early on. And I think when we look at the clues that were given was when Garlinghouse came out in January, we re-reviewed it the other night. And when we looked at what Garlinghouse said, he goes, believe me, we tried to settle. We did. We tried. But settling without clarity, it's just, it's a useless road, right? It's just going to end up, not in a good place. So talked about there were some recent developments. This story right here is 2 hours old, which we are going to jump into. Let me go ahead and open these puppies up because we're going to just take a quick look at it. We're not going to go crazy on taking a look at it, but we're going to look. Jimmy Filan once again is threw this out here, and this is the SEC v Ripple update. And it was funny because he didn't know if he should start. He used to always use breaking. I actually like breaking better because it's breaking. It's a breaking, it's breaking news. This is an update, but it's also a breaking update. We've reached an understanding reflecting a compromise by all parties, pursuant to which the defendants may examine Mr. Hinman on various issues without triggering, I like that, a privilege objection from the SEC. So what's this all about? All right, so there's the letter right there. This is written from this is a Judge Netburn. We write jointly on behalf of Plaintiffs Securities and Exchange Commission, defendants Ripple Labs, Brad Garlinghouse, Chris Larson collectively. It says the parties have made significant progress. This is really what you want to look at here. They've made significant progress in discussing the claims and objections of privilege that may apply to Mr. Hinman's testimony. What they've basically done is they've kind of jointly put this letter together. Of course, they want to release it back to the court because the judge has to approve it. And what they're saying is they don't need the judge to intervene because they've come to this agreement together, which is remarkable because I was not sure if they would reach some sort of agreement where Ripple was pushing hard for one part of it, and then the SEC was pushing hard on the other one. So this is going to define exactly what what Ripple's going to be able to ask, sort of like the outline of what they're going to be able to do. It says, based on our discussions, the parties do not believe it'll be necessary to seek the court's assistance prior to the deposition, but who knows? Anything can change. All parties reserve and do not waive their respective rights with respect to Mr. Hinman's deposition. This is where all the lawyer legalese comes in, now limited to seeking further guidance from the court in advance of the deposition, invoking rights under Federal Civil P2, blah, 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 blah. Basically what they're saying there is that they've come to an understanding. Now, they probably laid out the groundwork. Yeah, okay, we want to ask this type of question. You want to ask that. They might have said, no, we don't want you going there. And they sort of clearly define more of like an outline because they do reserve the right. And they when they actually go and speak with Mr. Hinman, when Ripple asks the questions, we're not really Ripple, but the attorneys for Ripple, it could be that, that they could that they could potentially have a falling out, so to speak. Now, the fact that the judge had to remind the SEC on the last hearing call again to turn over any internal communications, this is amazing that the judge is not losing it. Just like now, guys, work it out. Okay, so at some point, that's not going to go well for the SEC. They have been resisting turning over the internal communications with regard to what they can provide. I guess they can't provide inter-office, but any exterior, there was some guidelines that were set up that were agreed upon, and they're not putting anything out there, right? That's a big problem. So we're going to have to see how that one sort of, how that puppy ends up going. So let's jump a little bit. I want to jump into something new here and just a little bit of a kind of get off that SEC v Ripple. But, if you ask me, I'm enjoying the movie, lots of popcorn because it's starting to get exciting, right? Because the monumental decision that's going to come out of this is going to be, you want to talk about, it's not going to be Ripple, it's going to be giant cascading waves throughout the crypto community and the investment community at large. So this is something that we're going to be really honing in on. But let's take a look at this. Now, if you guys recall, I want to get your thoughts on this because if you remember, the original co-founder of the Dogecoin came out all piss and vinegar about, oh, woe's me, I'm not going to be in crypto anymore because it's run by bad people and it's not really decentralized and right? I mean, Jeff and I looked at that. We kind of laughed at it because I'm like, well, why would you put out a public statement? It's like, and all of the crypto publications put it, and they said, oh, now we know. Look at this. This is important. Look at this. This is really important. Just somebody whining. Okay, it's like, hey, you sold all your Dogecoin, it rocketed. You realized you lost millions of dollars. Hey, fair enough. I think we'd all be pretty bummed out about that, especially if you were the inventor. Imagine you invented something, and you didn't think it was worth anything. And then all of a sudden, years later, you could have been a multimillionaire. That's a sort of a tough thing to, resolve in your head. And, Stefan Thomas is like, well, co-founder, formerly Rippler, but co-founder of what's eluding me right now, of Coil. There it is. Sorry, it was right there. I was trying to pick it out of the air. Co-founder of Coil is like, hold my beer. He's lost a couple $100 million because he didn't remember the password for his Bitcoin. That's a huge thing. So by comparison, let's take a look at this. So this is great. CEO Brian Armstrong from none other than our favorite, well, some of our favorite, we'll call it like that, favorite Coinbase CEO. He responds to Dogecoin's creator, bleak outlook on Bitcoin and crypto industry. That's also a very cool graphic right there. Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong, he's responding to that viral tweet storm from Dogecoin co-creator Jackson Palmer, recently offered this woe is me, crying sort of whining sort of thing. Palmer, who created Dogecoin, a joke cryptocurrency with Billy Marcus in 2013. By the way, do you think that let me ask you a question. I mean, do you think that they should have known that it was a security? You think that's why he dumped it all? Because he should have known it was a security back in 2013, right? Anyway, I'm kind of joking right here. I want to throw this up. Rob XRP, thank you for the 5 spot. Thank you. Great scream. Thank you as usual. Guys, if you're not following Rob, get out there and follow him. Wealth of information. He saved me the other day, and Jeff, because he basically was live tweeting the calls, and he also has a Patreon too, puts out great stuff. So just guys, give him a follow and check out his Patreon as well. It's good quality stuff. Now, look at this right here. I want to jump in this. He says, despite claims of decentralization, the cryptocurrency industry is controlled by a powerful cartel of wealthy figures who with time have evolved into incorporate many of the same institutions tied to the This was the line, right? We're not going to get into the whole thing. It was like, typical straw man argument. Straw man argument goes like this. They did this and they did that. And then there's a secret shadowy figures walk around in the middle of the night bumping into things. Okay, first of all, let's dissect that. Who is they? Where is your source? But it's a big assertion, right? Shadowy figures, the same exact people that founded all the banks. They're now cartels running amok. Okay, well, put your money where your mouth is. In response, Armstrong says the technology behind cryptocurrency broadens access to opportunities and facilitates wealth mobility. Boom, drop the hammer, boom. That right there just about says it all. I'll say it again. In response, Armstrong says the tech behind crypto broadens access to opportunities and facilitates wealth mobility. And now we all know that the crypto is going to change lives forever, right? People that were never interested, never in the wildest dreams, maybe they were 20, maybe they were 60, but they looked at crypto not the same way they looked at stocks or derivatives or anything else or precious metals. Investors looked at, for the first time, crypto is what brought them in. Then the financial education began. They started researching. They started watching videos. They started reading about it. They started looking at different projects. Does this one have a use case? What's going on with this one? This one is a funny little meme coin. Should I just buy it for fun? That's what changed that. Now, what Brian Armstrong is really pointing out here is that the tech has opened up way, way more opportunity, right? We're going to start getting into the unbanked. There's tons of people out there that are unbanked, and if they're unbanked, they don't need a bank. The bank is going to be right here. It's going to be crypto. It's going to be on their phone, and that's what it's going to look like. So Armstrong really comes out strong. And then he gets on to the whole, the crypto is not going to solve wealth inequality. It's not trying to create the same outcome for everyone, blah, blah, blah. But it does create wealth mobility. It says it does create wealth mobility, more equality for opportunity for everyone. It levels the playing field at least some degree. So yeah, it does level the playing field to a degree because you can buy XRP at 20 cents and watch it rocket up to $1.90, right? You can buy it at 0.006, right? The Coinbase CEO also says that crypto suits libertarian-minded people who prefer a free market economic system. How about that? Now, you don't have to be libertarian, but what he's really talking about there, libertarians are a little bit more open, really want, talk about free market conditions and everything else. They don't want control. They're really more about decentralization because it really suits sort of a libertarian sort of a mindset. And that's what he's getting at. If you believe government solutions are often inefficient, overpromise and underdeliver, and come with unintended consequences, that personal responsibility mixed with free markets will create better outcomes for everyone. And crypto is a much needed breath of fresh air. And I couldn't agree with him actually more right there. It's absolutely right. Government from the beginning of time has failed the people again and again. going back as far as you can imagine. You know, a typical politician, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this, and then no. Sometimes they say the quiet part out loud when they get elected, and everyone's like, oh, did they really say that? Well, yeah, that's kind of what they were saying when they were running. It's just you were paying attention to the fluff, and you weren't paying attention to what the underlying message was. So he goes into Armstrong adds that Bitcoin has generated riches for many people because it's not under the control of any government or regulatory authority, and that's what makes it special. Now, this is the part that Jackson Palmer doesn't understand is the whole idea of decentralization. And with a CBDC, you know, the centralized bank token, digital currency, right? That whole C is centralized. Centralized is bad. Bad. We don't want centralization. We want decentralization. So Palmer missed the whole opportunity about the whole decentralization conversation. Government solutions such as investor laws are counterproductive, make it hard to obtain wealth through investments, according to Armstrong. And if you want to see that on full display right now, well, Peter Thiel, he amassed $5 billion when he in a Roth IRA. Now, what happened to the government? The government says, oh, no, we can't let you do that. We got to review the Roth IRA. Because what happens is once that money's put into that Roth IRA, you can withdraw it tax-free, okay? So now, because someone like Peter Thiel understood how to amass $5 billion and put it away, knows exactly how to, and so now the government's not happy. They're very upset about, oh, no, we can't have the serfs. No, that's reserved for the king and the court. We cannot have you making money. Sounds to me like that's the exact same thing they're trying to spin up with the digital currency, right? Digital assets. Accredited investor laws are a good example. They were created with the best intentions to protect regular people, right? How's that working out with the SEC? Working out pretty well, right? How do you feel protected? No, $15 billion in losses. It was created to protect regular people from scams, a noble idea, but what has been the actual result? They've often made it illegal to get rich via investment, unless you're already rich, right? This is part of why Bitcoin made so many people wealthy. It was not a security, so regular people could invest early on. And I really love the fact that he just totally nails it here, brings it right down and picks it apart. It disturbed me. I mean, Jeff and I talked about that a little bit. At least I don't know if I talked about it. I don't know if we did on air, but we did talk about it because we were just shocked at how people were receiving this. It was basically, crapping all over digital assets and the whole cryptocurrency movement, saying shadowy figures and this and that, and woe is me. Meanwhile, there's very few that were stepping out saying, hey, this is a different sort of a take on it, but it's not a very productive take. I get you lost a lot of money, but it wasn't a very good one, right? Let me jump into the Michael Utsu. I wanted to put this up. He says, why would anybody sell XRP at 60 cents when it's going to hundreds? That part I don't understand. I'll tell you, I think part of it has to do, Michael, with the whole idea that people get scared, and there's a lot of negativity out there. They really sell this stuff hard, right? It's going, we talked about Coining 203 when he put out, when his friend said, oh man, you were so lucky when it was $1.70, when XRP was, escalating. Said you were so lucky when you bought you bought it under $1. Meanwhile, let me know if it drops back down. So he calls his friend when it drops 50 cents. And he says, no, man, you're dumb. That's stupid. That stuff's going to zero, right? So that kind of mindset right there, people get scared. They get nervous. They have investments. It's like it's money, but how do you live with yourself? I have a lot of friends that jumped in when it was $1.40, 50, 60, 70, and then they watched it slide down. And I'm like, well, welcome to 2017, my friend. I mean, we've all sort of been there. And if you've been around the space a little bit, you know how you can get beat up and you can get hurt in this whole thing. And it's nothing against anybody, but it hurts, man. So a lot of people reason it like this. Well, I cut my losses. That whole thing. I might as well just cut my losses. Some people go like, I'll just ride it to zero. I'll never sell it. In the off chance it pulls a Doge and just skyrockets, right? Moons one day. And some people, that's how they feel about it. They go, that was my investment. That was my ride or die. I'll ride it down to zero. And I might even buy more when it's less than a penny. What do you think about that? So it's all a different mindset. But I think it's actually apropos that I pull this up if I can find it, because it's in this big long list of things that I got here. But I want to pull this up because it kind of plays beautifully into what we're talking about here. I pulled this up because it was so right on. It's so simple. A Chinese proverb, which I'm going to put up on the screen right here. All things are difficult before they are easy. Okay. So we're talking about investing. Let's look at this. Let's drill down on this puppy. There it is right there. All things are difficult before they are easy. Now let's look. All things are difficult before they are easy. I love this graphic. It's so beautifully well done because I love when you take graphics and you can sort of take a phrase. Now it becomes more understandable. The difficult part is the hill, right? Climbs up, goes back down. And if you've seen a couple market cycles, guess what? It gets easier. It's not like it gets more difficult. Yeah, I mean, you gotta have a strong constitution. You gotta come from right down here because it's not easy. And if it was easy, you know the saying, everybody would do it. Not everybody's doing it. You're one of the 1% of the total people living on planet Earth. And I think it's up to 3% now. But I like the 1% better because it sounds so much more exciting. But let's say 1 to 3% of the people living on planet Earth have taken a leap of faith and have gone just headfirst into the shallow end because they want maximum impact. That's where they are. That's where they're going. And I love that right there. It's so simple. Alex D Vlogs in the house. Only 0.0028% of the world's population have 5,000 XRP or more. Wow. That is incredible. So if your bag is 5,000 XRP or more, just know that you are, thank you for that, Alex. You are a small, tiny, it's a subset, as thin as a piece of hair. 0.0028% of the world's population have 5,000 XRP or more. We're getting so rich. I don't give an F. When though, Chip? When? That is, oh, listen, I can't tell you when. You want to know why? Coming a little closer. Because I don't know, man. Nobody knows. That's the whole point. But, I know we're getting closer. We're getting closer. I don't know if you guys ever heard this parable. There's a story that goes that there's two miners. They got stuck underground, and they were digging. One decided to go one way, the other one decided to go the other way. Digging. They never find any gold. Now, what they don't know is if you could see an X-ray vision of that, the gold's right here. Well, this guy gave up back here, and the gold was, just had to keep going to hit the gold. The other miner gave up, said, there's no gold here. I'm out. I'm done. Forget it. The other miner keeps going, hits the gold, right? Because it was worth the while to continue on and give it a fair shot. The other one gave up very easily. And that's kind of the mindset that a lot of people have in crypto. And it's okay. Look, it's not going to be for everybody. Not everybody has a strong constitution. No, not everybody's built tough. But you guys have been through market cycles. And if you're early in this thing, well, you know how that works, right? And before I go any further, it's probably a good idea if I remind you, if it's your first time here, please like, subscribe, and click that little notification bell right there. And you'll be notified anytime we drop a video. Super easy to do. You click the thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, click that bell. Boom, you get notified when we go live. And also wanted to go ahead and let you know, guys, you can follow us at On The Chain, has underscores underneath. And hopefully soon we'll be getting rid of that. And hopefully very soon, I would just say at On The Chain. I don't want to say at on underscore the underscore. I just say at On The Chain with underscores between it. Hopefully we'll be getting that handle soon. I don't know exactly when, but it's going to happen and we shall see exactly when it does. So now let's jump into what else do we got? We got a couple other stories here too. I know we took a lot of time on these, but man, I've had so much fun here to see what looks pretty interesting here. Let's see. Oh, I wanted to play this. I did want to play this one video here. And you guys know we talked a little bit extensively about Tether. You know, what's going on with Tether. The biggest challenge to stable coins, there's been a lot of things talking about stablecoin as of late. And I want to play this little short video because I think this opinion right here is really interesting. I want to see what your thoughts are on it. But let me just go ahead and pull this video up. Let me add it here. Let's see. Yeah, this was one of those CoinDesk events where they have like 4 people, on the screen, and they're all kind of giving their opinion. But this is right here. It is right here. If you guys please tell me, Jeff's not here. Berserker, the king of our hearts. Look at that, Berserker. Yeah, Berserker. You know what I'm going to give for that? Oh yeah.
Come on, man, Berserker.
Berserker. Yeah, Berserker. So let's watch this video. You guys have to let me know in the comments. I know we're a little bit of delay, but let me know if you hear it or not, because Jeff's not here to let me know, and I have to go with what you guys say. So let's listen to this little clip here.
The biggest risk I see is loss of faith in stable coins. So far, even the biggest, most widely used stablecoin, Tether, has had a lot of challenges and a lot of problems explaining and being audited for the peg that they're maintaining every time they issue more Tether. I think the biggest challenge the stable coins, that industry as a whole faces, is proving to the users that it is truly stable and there is a mechanism and the assets needed to provide that value. Otherwise, it's just going to be a rush to the banks with stable coins, and that's going to be very difficult.
Now, that's interesting, right? Not too dissimilar to what Jeff and I have said here. We've all kind of thought. That's why I really like USDC. I think it's going to have a better shot at survival. But I don't know about Tether, because they've changed their minds so many times. And also, too, they did talk about early days that they took, when Bitcoin was at 9,000, dumped a lot into Bitcoin. So I don't even know what it's backed by anymore. But he raises some really strong points there. Yeah, look at this. Apex says Tether is a bomb waiting to go off, and it will explode. Yeah, and there's going to be a lot of collateral damage with that when it blows too, right? Especially the Bitcoin, because they have a lot vested in Bitcoin. They're going to have to liquidate. It's going to cause some sort of a market thing going on. We don't exactly know what they have there. Nobody knows 100% what's there. But yeah, that can potentially be a real groundswell that I don't think we really want to jump into. And in the regulation front, just something here that I think is interesting. We talk about this a little bit, but turns out that, go ahead and get this other one. It turns out that Turkey is making a little bit of strides here, and they are planning to present a law on cryptocurrencies in October. The crypto asset companies will be supervised by the capital markets boards, and they'll need to set aside a minimal capital requirements. And, this is ultimately just going to protect the people. It's going to be modeled on legislation in Europe and the U.S. Well, I don't know about the U.S., but Saba said Monday, citing Deputy Minister of Treasury and Finance, Secure Goal. Boy, did I butcher that. Crypto asset companies are supervised, and it's probably a good idea. If it's unregulated right now, usually what ends up happening is people get hurt. Tax will be charged on holdings above a certain amount, and the capital requirements will be introduced to companies with crypto exposure. So it sounds like it's going to be somewhat sound from what I can see, but it's all preliminary. But again, Turkey moving into a little bit of regulation. The US, no. What's the US doing? Nothing. I mean, the US is doing absolutely nothing. And that's where I'm really excited for other parts of the world that have just said, we don't care what the US is doing. We're doing our own thing. We're making our strides, and we are going to rip the cryptocurrency. We're going to do really well with it. And that's one of the things that, quite honestly, I find to be very encouraging, because how is it going to be brought up in the SEC case when they go like, well, so what happened in the rest of the world? Oh, they all have regulation. Are they pro crypto? Pretty much. Which place does not have regulation? Oh, the US. Oh, it's just a losing battle right there. Yeah, Apex says, do your own research and you'll find that Tether prints USDT. Yeah, they haven't printed any in a while. They print it, right? But so does the US Treasury. But that's okay, because they've got cover. They buy Bitcoin to collateralize its reserves back in USDT. Then Bitcoin price goes up. Tether prints more USDT. What could go wrong? Yeah, thank you for eloquently saying that. What could go wrong? I mean, almost everything could potentially go wrong. And that's kind of where we're at in this whole thing. a lot of things could blow up and it could turn to a, we talked a little bit about this too. In Paraguay, oh, wait a minute, that's not the story. Like, I got a bunch of things up here that I got to go ahead and clear, but good golly, where is this one? Here it is. Okay, so Paraguay, we talked about this. That's actually the wrong link. But there was a story here. The Paraguay lawmakers presented a very different Bitcoin bill than expected. I wanted to get into that, but again, the wrong link is pasted. And then one other one here. Let's look at this real quick. This one here is Binance. And Binance, what's going on over at Binance? Can anybody tell me what's going on at Binance? I mean, they're seemingly getting in all kinds of weird stuff's happening. So Binance burns 390 million worth of BNB tokens. It's destroyed 400 million worth of BNB in its 16 quarterly token burn event. But the markets are like, we don't care. What do we care? Major exchange, Binance, completed its 16th quarterly Binance burn, and everybody's like, who cares? On Sunday, they reported it destroyed 1,296,728 BNB tokens valued at just under $400 million at the time. The exchange noted its additional 5,000 BNB were destroyed through its Pioneer Burn program, an incentive that aims to help users who have lost tokens through honestly mistaken transactions to smart contracts. Now, that's sort of the collateral damage that happens in some of this stuff. It's the Wild West, and not everything goes as planned. We've all been there. Maybe you lost a little crypto here and there. Maybe there was the smart contract, things weren't specified. Maybe there's a lot of moving parts, and it's easy to make a mistake. That's one of the things that I think is keeping a lot of the people out of cryptocurrency. The people are a little bit worried about that just because, you try to explain to someone that's been in crypto for about 3 nanoseconds about a cold storage wallet. Yeah, good luck. I mean, they don't really even understand what the exchange is, what the exchange is for, how you move it, how it's interoperability, how you can use something like decentralized swap. They just not going to get any of that. Talk about DeFi, they're just not going to get any of that. So that's some of the collateral damage that happens. And so Binance covered the losses, returning the tokens to users under specific circumstances. These token numbers then deducted from the quarterly burn totals by the exchange. And CZ basically put this out. Let's see. It was just Binance team has never used or sold a single team BNB thus far, only burned them. So I worry about the thus far part. This kind of gets me a little worried. Thus far, it's like, well, not now. We just haven't done it now, but you never know, man. I mean, it could possibly happen thus far. Well, it's probably accurate. Hasn't happened yet, right? And there's always tomorrow. Speaking of tomorrow, guys, we will do this show 6 days a week. We stream Sunday through Thursday night on the East Coast of the United States, broadcasting all over the world. It starts at 8 o'clock. We go usually about an hour, and then Jeff will do his special rant. I call it the rant because Jeff goes on a rant. It's kind of like I was on a rant today, right? It takes you a good hour to sort of get yourself warmed up into the flow of things. And once we got into it, you kind of get going. But he does that at 8 a.m. on Saturday mornings. And if it's one more little small reminder, because it makes a big difference here. But if you could hit the subscribe, click on that subscribe button, click the notification bell, boom, just like that. And yeah, that's all we have for you tonight. It's all I have for you tonight. Jeff may be back tomorrow, kind of see what his schedule's looking like. If not, you can rest assured that we will be here together. I'll be back. Jeff hopefully will be joining, but if not, we will get to it. And thank you, everybody, for coming in. I don't know if there's any closing comments here. Cheers. Yep, cheers to you. Good one-man show tonight. Appreciate it, Sir John. Berserker. Thank you very much. Old-fashioned truth. Being a call up all the girls used to go to school with. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you do that. Tina, thank you very much for showing up. Michael, appreciate it. Jeff took the red pill. Well, good night and thank you, Copperpot. Appreciate it. Guys, have a good one. Come on back tomorrow and we will see you on the next one. Chip out.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.